Hey, welcome back. Thanks for watching. I want to go on and talk about what my Monte Carlo score was before I retired. Now, if you're not familiar with the Monte Carlo score, I'm not going to get into all the details, but it's basically your chances of success of your money and your plan working. And you can look that up, but you can put in all your inputs, your portfolio, what you want to spend, your budget, all that type of stuff, and put it into a Monte Carlo calculator, and it will give you a percentage of success based on those numbers, and it's going to run thousands of variables, market returns, and all that. But you can look all that up. I'm not going to really get into all those details. But a lot of people want to have, or try to have, or I think they need to have a Monte Carlo score of 99 because there's not going to be any plan that's going to be 100%. But in all actuality, when I retired, my Monte Carlo score was an 86. And I was comfortable with that. Now, the reason being is it's giving you a percentage of success based on no changes to your plan. And as I've seen many other people talking about, if you're working your plan and you're in retirement and your portfolio begins to dwindle because of poor market returns or more than normal spending, the normal person is going to automatically just cut back on spending in some way. And so it's not the fact that you're not going to succeed in your retirement if you don't have a 99 or 100. It's just that if you have an 86, you need to understand that different variables may play into that, and you may need to change your spending as time goes on, according to what your portfolio is doing. So, but I know I've talked to a lot of people who they'll have a 92 or a 94, and they want to work another year or two so that they can get that 99. And I just don't think that's needed. I've retired comfortably and was very happy with an 86. And my advisor, when we talked about it, he said, "Well, there's no indication in my spending plan or in my lifestyle that says I can't cut back in certain areas if I have to because my portfolio is falling off." And so I want to encourage you to reconsider, and instead of trying to shoot for 95 or 99% on your Monte Carlo score, see what you can do and see how it's going to play out to have an 85 to a 90, and just see where you work at there. Because in the grand scheme of things, you're going to change your spending if your portfolio begins to fail in some ways, whether it's poor market returns or what have you. So I got an email from Boldin, Boldin. That's a product that Joe Kuhn pushes a lot. I have a subscription to that. I use it occasionally. I don't use it nearly like I did before I retired, but I get weekly emails, just retirement news and stuff. And one of the sections in it in the last week or two was talking about this Monte Carlo score and how you should treat that. And so I just thought, well, I'd come on and do a video on that. I'm trying to find it here as I talk about it. So according to Boldin here, Monte Carlo is your retirement chance of success. A 70% score does not mean failure. It means in 30% of the scenarios, you'll need to make some type of adjustment, either spending a little less, working a little longer, or perhaps doing some other type of investing. A 99% score may sound perfect, but it can also mean that you're oversaving and underspending, trading today's joy for tomorrow's security you may never use. And so that's true. And so you've got to kind of balance the portfolio pile and the spending pile. And you have to really assess where you're at there and see if there is. So if you do lose 20% of your portfolio value, are there ways that you can cut back on your spending? And a lot of times I think if we're really serious about it, we can. Now, if you're to the point where there's nothing in your budget to cut, nothing at all, then I think that perhaps you should work longer. But rethink your thinking about the Monte Carlo and see where you land if you really put your mind to it and really understand what that score means. A 99 means that you probably get to the airport 5 hours or 10 hours early for your flight, and a 50 would mean that you probably get there 20 minutes ahead of your flight. But anyway, that's kind of an analogy that I can think of to use. And so you really have to understand what the Monte Carlo really means. And if you're planning scenarios, if you're using Boldin, change some of your scenarios and change some of your returns, change some of your spending, and just kind of adjust that and see how it affects your Monte Carlo. But I'm going to say, just my personal opinion, anything above an 80 is going to be fine. But obviously, you need to run that through your, through an advisor, somebody that's more inclined or understanding than I am about it. But I've been happy with the way my retirement's been. I'm not quite having the same amount that I had when I started a year in, but I'm really close. And the reason I'm down a lot of that, part of that is because I pulled out a decent sized lump sum to pay off my house when I retired. So in the grand scheme of things, even with all my spending, if I pulling out that lump sum, I'm essentially above what I was when I started. But that being said, on raw numbers, I am down just a little bit, but it just keeps tricking up just a little bit each month. And even though all this spending that I've had throughout the past year, I'm still pretty close to where I was when I started. So anyway, so with a year under my belt, we're doing fine. And so perhaps in some ways, if we thought about it, we might be able to increase our spending, which we are going to a little bit, because I've mentioned in other videos, we are going to plan a vacation and that type of stuff. So, which we haven't done in the year that I've retired. So we're going to plan a big vacation next year. I may take a small trip later on this year in 2025. Haven't decided yet. So anyway, just want to come on and talk about the Monte Carlo and what it means. So if you want to text me, it's 618-608-0152. If you want to reach out to me there, I'd be more than happy to have a conversation with you there. Please just include your name and where you're texting from. And with that, I'll say God bless. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. And see, you hear me every now and then. My button quits working, and I don't know. Let's see.